Nowadays, it's widely popular and en vogue to trash Sword Art Online for its myriad faults, and for good reason too. But in my opinion, taking that stance is also trite and uninspired, but more importantly, done to death. So today I thought I'd focus instead on arguably the show's strongest arc, Mother's Rosario, and how it managed to serve as a brilliant ending to an otherwise divisive and controversial series. For now. It's important to note from the outset that I don't know definitively whether I can even call myself a fan of Sword Art Online or not. I watched the first season when it came out, and I'll admit I was captivated by the first half of the first season. The visuals, the story, all of it appealed to me. Like most people, the second half was a total write-off, and it's one of the only times I've ever fallen asleep watching anime. Similarly, the Gun Gale arc of Season 2 both bored and frustrated me, since I didn't find much enjoyment in the digital murder mystery, and that the entire character of Death Gun was predicated on a retcon, which is a trend that unfortunately continued into Ordinal Scale. I thought the Caliber arc was an improvement, but nothing special. But then I saw Mother's Rosario. The most immediate strength of this arc is that it systematically addressed every criticism I had developed while watching the first half of Sword Art Online 2. And really most of the series as a whole. As I said, I found the stakes uninteresting in Gun Gale, and they straight up didn't exist in Caliber. Unless you genuinely expect me to believe anyone was worried about Tonki. In Mother's Rosario, it took a while for the ultimate reveal, but once all the cards were on the table, the idea of the Sleeping Knights accomplishing their goal was poignant and significant. If, like me, you found it confusing that Asuna was supposedly one of the strongest players in Ironclad and nothing more than a cardboard cutout for the rest of the show, Mother's Rosario remedies that by making Asuna the focus, exploring her problems and allowing her to take a journey of her own. She gets to regain her status as an actual character through reconciling with her mother and meeting Yuki. Seeing Asuna back in fighting form was a breath of fresh air compared to the stereotypically dull role she filled in the Alfheim and Gun Gale arcs. But perhaps the greatest improvement made by Mother's Rosario is the fact that there aren't any scenes focusing on how ridiculously powerful Kirito is. Well, mostly. Even so, it's nice to see the Sleeping Knights struggle through combat that is fair and earned, as opposed to the SAO tradition of having Kirito either decimate an opponent or only lose because of cheating and foul play. There's absolutely a time and a place for battles of brute force, and more often than not I love seeing them. But the emphasis on strategy and planning in the 27th floor boss fight is a welcome one. Overall, it was just satisfying to see Kirito take a back seat during this arc. It's entirely possible that Mother's Rosario greatly benefited from my low expectations after the Alfheim and Gun Gale arcs, but I genuinely think it stands up as a good arc on its own, and probably the best the show has ever been. To me, Sword Art Online has always been, in part, a love letter to gamers. So much of its appeal is tantalizing the viewer with the possibilities of future gaming hardware, and allowing them to fantasize about what kind of adventures it would allow them to go on. More than that though, it mirrors the current state of gaming and, as is clear from interviews with series creator Reki Kawahara, it is written from a perspective that understands gaming and wants to celebrate it and those who enjoy it. It's no surprise then that the series has multiple instances of dividing loot, raid parties, guild politics, and more. But it goes even deeper than that. As Yuki prepares to pass away in Asuna's arms, the rest of the Sleeping Knights rally to be with her. Then Kirito and crew arrive. Then hundreds of players, even the guild that tried to prevent the Sleeping Knights from tackling the boss. They all go to be with Yuki and simply wait in solemn silence until her time runs out. This is a heart-wrenching example of art imitating life, as its imagery is reminiscent of when players gather on a server or game that's about to be shut down. There's a bittersweet feeling in the air. Everyone is finally coming together again, but it's for such sad reasons. On top of that, Aoi Yuki's performance in Yuki's final moments was nothing short of heartbreaking. Her already frail voice cracking as she gets weaker and weaker is excruciating for the viewer to experience. And I'm happy to report that in the dub, Erica Mendez's performance was a tearjerker too. Overall, this easily ranks as one of the most emotional scenes in the entire show. maybe even more so than the conclusion of the Aincrad arc. Not only that, but the first half of Mother's Rosario harkened back to what made Sword Art Online interesting in the first place. The stunning animation during the over-the-top fights, whether it's Asuna versus Yuki, the Sleeping Knights versus the other guild, or even the battle against the floor boss. The fights are a joy to watch, and you can easily see the animators showing off in some of the key scenes. Mother's Rosario simply keeps a consistent overall polish, whereas other arcs in the series have very noticeable ups and downs. So, still unsure of whether I can rightfully say I'm a fan of Sword Art Online, I can say I look forward to the next step in the series, and it's SAO2's Mother's Rosario arc that helped me get there.